China meets the world and let the world come to China. That's how you describe the symposium. And Kyle and Duanling, I know you guys are the organizers and also students at Yenching Academy. What were your expectations, Kyle?
Well, my expectation is that we would have 50 great students from Beida, 50 great students from around the world, all come to meet 96 Yenching scholars and have a 3-4 day conversation facilitated by really interesting guest speakers.
And Darlene?
I think my expectation is that, it's just like young students or young people from all over the world coming together to the Yenching Global Symposium, to learn, to come together and to have fun. So it's like probably at Sunday evening when they look back on the past few days, they can feel, well, this is a very worthwhile experience.
And Danya, what attracted you to the symposium?
So I knew that I wanted to learn more about China and experience China, and I haven't been able to travel because of financial limitations, but also there wasn't really a reason for me to be able to come besides tourism. And so when I saw the symposium, I've been identified as a young entrepreneur before, and so this was, the perfect opportunity for me to experience China, but then also bring the work that I'm doing for youth and women to this country and see, what the future looks like for us all.
And much of the discussion about this forum revolves around the question, the global impact of China, the economy, the policy, and the politics, and the influence that the world has on China. I mean, that's a broad topic. And you guys come from different backgrounds, a foreign student who's studying in China and a Chinese student who once studied overseas, and a specialist, delegates who got invited to this symposium. What were your understanding about that topic? Kyle?
I think it's extremely complicated, and as we're seeing already in this conference, every single person has a different opinion of it, whether that be 2 different Chinese people might look at it differently, or 2 different Americans, and most certainly someone from France and someone, say, from Japan might also have a totally different perspective on this. I personally come at it from the fact that as an undergraduate, I studied Qing Dynasty foreign relations. And so I'm interested in taking a much bigger historical view of how China has interacted with the world over the past few centuries and where we see that going in the next 30, 40 years.
What do you think about this dialogue between young students and established scholars and policymakers and leaders, which is being encouraged by this symposium?
Well, as someone whose primary work is to empower youth, I think it's incredibly important because we're not only the future, we're the present. So if we're not included in these conversations and we're not offering our own contributions, then it's really a one-sided dialogue, and we can't really create progress that way. We have to include all parties, and that especially includes youth, and this is why I wanted to be at the symposium.
Let's also talk about the Yenching Academy here. I understand the Academy's mission is to provide this opportunity to imbibe Chinese perspective and international perspective, and together cultivate this mutual understanding for global students. Now, do you think the world has a good understanding about China now?
Well, as someone who didn't specialize in China, and I took one course in college, I didn't really know what to expect. You know that a lot of your goods are made in China, and sometimes you have this idea of rural China and incredibly poor, but coming into the Beijing International Airport and seeing some of the city, I was incredibly surprised. And I really tried to come in here with a blank mind, but I was still surprised at how, how nice and modern everything is, and it's such a big international city.
Has the new experience here at Yenching University, Yenching Academy, I should say, reshaped some of your understanding before? I
had lived here for a few years before coming to Yenching, and I had grown up in Taipei. But what it did was it really reinforced for me. What Yenching has done is really reinforced and reminded me a lot of the really great and exciting things that are happening in China, especially when you start talking to a lot of the young people, especially at a school like Peking University. And in terms of whether or not the world has a good understanding of China, I won't speak to the world, but I can speak somewhat to the United States and say that the world definitely has just like any country, has a limited understanding of China and everything that happens here. And so communicating that is always a big challenge because China is a big place with a lot of people, and a lot of contradictions, just like you were talking about. You know, maybe a village in the countryside looks one way, the international terminal in the airport here looks another way. Maybe one person has this sort of outlook towards the world and towards China's progress, and another person might have a different outlook. And obviously then you add in the historical baggage of all this history that China has and where it's coming from and where it wants to go. And it's a complicated idea to talk about and to convey. And Yenching is a great way for China to start that dialogue with young Chinese people and young foreign students from around the world.
And what are some of the topics, that theme that's most meaningful to you guys and you want to do extensive research on while you are here?
So I've been in China for like more than 20 years. So I think, like, speaking for myself, like, I am, like, currently I'm taking international relations at Yenching Academy. That's my concentration. So I think in the future, I would like to explore, like, more, like, similar topics in this regard, like to see how China, like, establishes, like, international relations strategies with other countries. And also I'm quite interested in, like, the media and also the international communications, you know, by the Chinese government. So I hope that I can, you know, do more research in the future if possible. Yeah.
I also understand during your stay here in China, you got a chance to dig into Chinese culture and history. You got the chance to travel to a lot of places, and you study calligraphy, you study poetry, archaeology. From a cultural perspective, what impresses you the most?
Well, the thing that I like the most, and this is very personal because I studied history as an undergraduate, is old things. And China has a lot of old things. So my favorite site that I've ever been to in China is in Dunhuang. You drive like an hour and a half out into the Gobi Desert, and the Han Dynasty Great Wall with the little storage depot that's still left over there, that's been there for about 2,000 years, is one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in my life. And to be able to walk all the way along that wall in the middle of the desert and just think about this empire that existed so long ago, I just get excited every time. And certainly when Yenching went together to Qiuyuan, we saw many different tomb complexes, obviously the terracotta warriors, and that was also an amazing experience. So that's the thing that I like the most about traveling in China.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Qiuyuan in that point. But I think, like, as someone, like as a Chinese citizen, and I've been living here for so many years, and I think what Yenching strikes me most is the, like, very different atmosphere, like, from other programs that you wouldn't see. For instance, like, I think is the in my junior year, like in the summer of it, I took part in 3 like graduate pre-admission summer camps, the so-called Baoyan Shaling, and I got offered from PKU and BFSU and Renmin University of China. And finally I chose this one because I think, like, it really represents a kind of experiment, like this very new strength in China. And I think this can be the starting point of the educational reform, you know, in China. This is a very good, like, starting point. And I think it's such a pleasure and also privilege to be the first cohort and to witness, you know, how it will go, like where it will go from here. So I think that's what I like about Yenching, you know, about the atmosphere and also about the progress that we're making ourselves.
And you haven't studied here, but you are also here as a delegate. How's that people-to-people exchange, you know, play into the whole picture here?
I mean, it's amazing. You have people from all over the world. You have people who are studying, you know, different things, but then you have people who are, you know, Truman Scholars and Rhodes Scholars. So you're literally meeting with the top, like, innovators and entrepreneurs and scholars from all over the world in one place, and a place that I've never been to, you know? So it's amazing because it's a new context, but it's also a new group that I've never interacted before with. And I think the symposium is amazing in its scale because, you know, you're funding and you're flying out people from all over the world, people who might have not been able to come here without that. And so you're offering an opportunity that not many symposiums do, which is an amazing thing within itself.
Okay, now final remarks from all of you. What do you guys plan to do in the future to get a better understanding of the country and perhaps, you know, given others around you a better understanding of China?
For me, like, I'm thinking about, like, to make China's voice heard, I think it would be a good idea for us Chinese citizens, Chinese students to go, to other countries and to show them like who Chinese people are. So that's why I'm considering like studying further abroad. But yeah, I might also like look for a job because I think it's also important to get some like hands-on experience from our work life. So yeah, I think this semester is very important to me, and I'll make the final decision, in this semester.
Okay.
I'm personally excited about entrepreneurship in China and or working in China in the future. And in terms of making, communicating things about China back home, I think it's mainly through writing and sharing those ideas through writing with people in the United States and around the world.
So writing. And Raya?
And I think for me, I'm actually considering applying to the Yenching Academy because it's so amazing. The scholars are so amazing. And, I do work with the UN right now, and so I would love to see how my experience in China would influence my work with the UN in the future.
All right. Thank you very much for your guys' time.
Well, thanks for coming.